welcome to the April protocol meeting. I think we had a great one last month in March. And yeah, today I think we're going to go through, George, can you go to the agenda slide? So yeah, we're going to do the Euro update on what we're working on the protocol side. And then we're going to have an interesting discussion on like process for proposing new features. And we also have Jay here. Yeah, for people who are not familiar with who Jay is, Jay is working with the community on setting the contract standards, working with things like fungible and non-fungible token standards and other standards that are very important for smart contract developers. So he has a lot of thoughts on what's the process to proposing a new standard and so on and so forth. So we're going to kind of have a discussion on like how to kind of combine that with the process to proposing new protocol features. And then maybe there are some differences, and hopefully it's going to be an interesting discussion. And of course, we'll have time for Q&A.
Yeah, actually, Jay, you want to give a quick introduction?
Hi, I'm Jay. Was that quick? That was really quick. I'm Jay. I've been working with Pagoda for about 6 weeks now. Just kind of thrown into the standards deep end. I come from the enterprise software development world, so spent my good share of time working for the big guys like Oracle and Dell. I've also had some pepperings of startups way back in the day. Super excited to kind of dive into this project. I really think that this platform represents kind of the version 3.0 of blockchain. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. So
awesome. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, you want to continue, Bone?
Yep. So we'll give a quick update first. So there were some changes in the new core release schedule. So we had to basically freeze the releases, I think, at the end of close to the end of March. This was because that we observed that some instability around validators missing blocks at the beginning of the epoch. And that actually persisted for a period of time, which led us to thinking that we should focus our time and effort on figuring out what's going on and prevent things from happening again. So I just want to provide the community with an update on that. So we've basically formed a special work group to tackle this problem. What we did is that we added a lot of metrics, as well as working with validators to figure out how we can get them to kind of send us certain metrics and or other tracing events to help us understand what's going on, because Pagoda doesn't run a validator at this point on mainnet. So I think we've made very good progress, and we figure out there are a couple causes to the problem that we observed that caused validators to miss blocks at the beginning of epoch. We have some mitigation strategy implemented, and or some of them are fully fixed. So we started resuming the release process, and it's basically going to resume next week. So I think next Wednesday we're going to have the testnet release for 1.26, and then 4 weeks afterwards we'll have the release for mainnet. And as I said, we added a lot of observability improvements. So going forward, it should also be easier for us to understand the cause of problems should they occur. So yeah, that's basically the updates on this side. I think that has been pretty much our focus for the past months, I would say. And Josh, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so just kind of giving an update on what we're working on the protocol features. So as you can see, the change that increased maximum gas burns has already been released. So it's now fully live. And yeah, it basically allows for more capacity in a single transaction if people need to need to run some expensive transaction that consumes more gas than what was previously allowed. And what is in the pipeline, what we're currently working on is this OutBN 128 support that would allow us to have private transactions on mainnet, which is great. I mean, it by itself doesn't directly allow that, but it provides the crypto primitives for people to build private transactions. Split unused gas across promises, I think, yeah, it's what we mentioned last time. But because the work is, I think, basically done at this point, we're just waiting for it to go to the next release. I think pretty much the same things with caching trend nodes that I already talked about last time, that allowed to an optimization that would allow us to save gas for I would say most of the transactions that touch storage, either storage read or storage write. So yeah, that's basically the update on the protocol side. And I guess, yeah, Josh, should we do Q&A at the end, or should we just
yeah, I guess yeah, we can definitely ask if anybody has any questions on maybe take a moment to pause and see if anybody has any questions on yeah, basically the update and what we're currently working on before we move to the next topic. But yeah, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the Q&A section at the bottom, or if you'd like to actually join the call and ask live, just comment something in chat. Let me know. I'm monitoring both the chat and the Q&A section, and we can go ahead and bring you on stage so you can ask your question via voice. But yeah, feel free to drop something in the chat if you are interested in participating. I guess one question would be, you talked about the release schedule and that we're resuming it. Could you just go over briefly what the release schedule is as far as testnet and mainnet, and what the regular cadence is? Yeah, so I think there is actually a blog post that I can suggest people read. But basically there's a five-week release schedule that we're following right now. So basically 4 weeks between testing the mainnet, and then after the mainnet, 1 week after the mainnet release, it would be the next testnet release. So I can post this link. Ah, cool, awesome. Yeah, I have a few questions. They're more general questions, not necessarily pertaining to what we just covered. So I think I'm going to, maybe we will move on to the next topic. We'll talk about, I believe, the next, whoops. Yeah, feature proposals. Yeah, we're gonna have a discussion around how you can propose an NEP. And then after that, we'll open it up for the AMA. General questions. Cool. So, yeah, Bowen, did you want to lead this conversation, or is this something that's going to go to Jay? Yeah, I can lead the conversation. Although, okay. So I think I might have found a way to join as host. Wait. Okay. Yeah, I don't know whether it's worth trying again. Maybe you want to try one more time? Okay, yeah, let's try one more time. Okay. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for bearing with our technical difficulties. Cool, awesome to see. Yeah, Simon, Ravi, and some anonymous questions. Really awesome, Bowen. Yay. Okay, now it works. So this is very weird. Essentially what I did is I clicked the same link. Like I click a link that should be the same as you send me, except that link was sent like it was like on like a Gmail, like on like a Google invite, and then I click from there. Okay. Just, like magically it worked. I don't. Okay. This is cool. Very absurd. Oh, actually, it's not entirely the same. Oh, I think there's like small differences, so maybe that's why. I see. Okay. Cool. Yeah. No problem. We got to figure it out. Okay. Yeah. It's yeah. This is a bit ridiculous, but
Okay, so do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen,
okay.
and yeah, we can kick off the conversation. Yeah, and keep those questions coming in. We'll definitely make time after the NEP discussions for these general AMA questions.
Yeah, so so I think this is something that people are very interested in, since we kind of talked about last time that we want to move towards a more community-driven development process, and as an important part of that, it means that we have to have a way for anyone in the community to propose new features or improvements to the protocol, and it shouldn't just be one single team that's doing all of that work. I think the other side of the story is that I believe we are still in the early stages of the evolution of the protocol, even though mainnet has been live since October 2020, and we launched phase 0 of sharding in November 2021. I still think we're in the early stages of the entire protocol development. And as a result, I still want us to have the ability to move fast and iterate on things quickly, instead of kind of getting bogged down in the processes and have a lot of overhead, which would inevitably slow down the development process. So as a result, I kind of want to propose a more lightweight process to proposing new protocol features. And yeah, of course, we'll also have Jake here. I think he has already polished a process for the standards. So maybe we can have a discussion after talk about this slide. So essentially, I kind of want to simplify the process to pretty much 3 steps. So let's say you are someone who is interested in proposing a new protocol feature. So the first step is essentially drafting an NEP pull request. So I think Jay worked out a very nice template, which we can present later on. But essentially, it's a somewhat standard RFC process that you kind of describe what the feature you're proposing is, and have some detailed description of what problem you're trying to solve and how the new feature works, and then how it works on the reference level, on the protocol spec level. And then at the same time, to kind of both act as a Sybil resistance prevention, and then also as acting as a way to ensure that people give enough thought into their proposal. We also ask people to actually provide a prototype implementation when they provide the draft NEP pull request. This is, as I said, this is also to help validate, help other people who review the pull request validate that the proposal is indeed feasible, and it's not something that is theoretically elegant, but in practice very hard to implement. So yeah, that's basically the first step, and then the second step is that a committee will essentially review this proposal, and then we commit to having a less than 2 months review period, where in this period there will be a back and forth between the reviewer and the person who submitted the proposal. Yeah, and we basically just put a time bound here to avoid indefinite iteration on the proposal, and then essentially at the end there should be once we get to a state where we think this is essentially ready, we will do like basically a final check in this meeting. That I think we can discuss how exactly we want this to happen. But presumably the proposer of the feature will do a presentation, and then to see if there are any final objections, and then we can essentially make the decision of having this feature, or like approving this feature in this meeting. So that's kind of the process I had in mind. It's definitely not perfect, or it's very far from perfect. But I think we're basically trying to balance allowing us to still move fast, and also allowing people, anyone in the community, to have the ability to contribute to the protocol. So yeah, I think I'll just pause here and then let Jay speak to the process that he's working on the contract standard side. And
yeah, thanks, Bowen. That's really good. So part of my goal here, I kind of initially came in here from the contract standard side, right? Trying to attack things from, I guess, the application side or standardization of applications. And one of the things that sort of was different right off the bat between protocol and standards was the implementation of a prototype. So I'm super happy on point 2 to see you to actually want to have a prototype implementation as part of the early process, because I'm like a very strong believer in show me the code early, right? That's awesome. So I don't know if what's the best way for me to present this? Just take the screen over and show you guys the NEP repo maybe and go through that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll try to just not read it to you. No, I got a pretty picture. Got some sticks and lines here we can look at.
And Bowen, just to clarify, so as far as like the NEP process moving forward, I know we've had kind of sometimes started in the governance forum and having conversations there, and then those will migrate to NEP. You kind of want to consolidate things to, like, if someone has a proposal, let's just start and draft that proposal within the NEP.
Oh yeah, that's actually that's a great point, Josh. I think here I'm more talking about the essentially the formal part of the process, but of course, we still very much welcome discussions on the governance forum. And then if you look at how the Rust RFC process works, they actually kind of encourage this pre-RFC that's not really like formally part of the process, but they encourage people to just discuss things, propose ideas on the forum, and then once they get to a stage where they feel that they have enough confidence to formally propose a new feature, then you kind of move to this formal process. Oh, Jay just disappeared.
Gotcha. No, not sure where he went. Watch for him to join back up. I believe I made him a co-host, so he was able to share.
Okay.
We'll see when he comes back. Okay, cool. So it's still kind of following the process of like the incubation stage, having the chat.
Right. Right. Yeah.
In gov.near.org, and then when you're ready to formalize it. Gotcha.
Yeah. This is talking about the formalized part of the process, and it's not that we're trying to stifle discussions or anything. That those are very much welcome.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Well, wait a second for Jay to join. Ravi, I see that you asked a question that you're stuck on NFTs near blockchain and you need some help. You can that actually would be handled by my team, the DevRel team. Feel free to ask that question in dev support on Discord, and one of my teammates can help you out with that. But if you'd like, in a couple hours at 11 p.m. Pacific, we'll have office hours where you can ask this question live and actually share your screen. And a team of DevRel individuals and community members will be on that call as well. So in Discord, office hours in about 3 hours ish, 11 Pacific time. Thanks Drew for posting that. Feel free to join and get some support there.
Oh, actually Drew posted to host and panelists. Probably should post to everyone.
Host and panelists. Oh yes, Drew. Yeah, can you post to everyone? You did just post to host and panelists. But yeah, near.org/office-hours is a great place to check out all the different support live events that we have. But yeah, go ahead. I see you're back, Jay. Do you have screen sharing permissions?
Sorry about that. This you should label this meeting as figuring out Zoom.
Yeah.
It's just I got my new system, so I
gotcha.
Go into the system preferences to give me access to do the presentation. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
All right, let's see if we can get this going.
I believe you should have screen sharing permissions. Let me know.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay, you guys can see my screen?
Yep, we can see it. Yep.
Okay, so the sort of side, or I guess my corner of the universe is in this NEPs directory, or the NEPs repository rather. I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with it. It looks like it's been around quite a while. And so I'm kind of taking on the role of just trying to get my arms around everything and sort of funnel the process and optimize the process a little bit. And so I guess the first my first sort of order of business was to try to collate the different specifications that we have in place already, and figure out a way to create a standard of standards. So following a similar model as the PIP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum model, I've created a purpose and guidelines document, which is a living document. Bowen, that's the way to do it. If you want to get yourself out of corners, just label it as living, and then you can always just change it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, and this is definitely still living, and it's very, very much still organic. There's still pieces of this that are not complete. They're off on a pull request, but I'll just go through quickly what this thing sort of describes, right? And let me just go down to my picture here. So really, we're trying to describe how to optimize and create a process from ideation all the way into like a final process. And again, I'm sort of going at this from the contract side. I'm hoping that we'll be able to further optimize this for both, again, the contract standards and the protocol standards side. I know the cadence is going to be different. Bowden, you and I talked about that last week. But I'm hoping the process will be similar enough to be able to not have to duplicate it, right? So essentially what it is again, you guys have probably seen a lot of this process, but you know, step one is to kind of get the draft up and running. And part of that draft is, you know, creating a little bit of code that represents the idea, right? We're going to have an editor role. And that editor role is actually going to be filled out into a few other different roles, but it'll just sort of represent the administrative side of things within Pagoda/Near. That'll be responsible for accepting and rejecting draft proposals. And the idea is to be as fast as possible there, right? We don't necessarily, I don't think we necessarily want to have drafts sitting up on a pull request for years on end. I know that a lot of processes do that. I know EIP does that. I've been in that process as an author, unfortunately. And I know that there are, speaking with Alexi, there are other processes that kind of struggle with that, with specifically the Rust RFC process. So what I'm proposing is that we try to kind of try to snip that off as fast as possible, right? You know, put things into a rejected mode, and then authors can kind of amend and get it back into draft if required, or just leave it rejected. And then we kind of move it along into a review process for a couple of weeks, up to 2 months. We haven't really determined the length of the time yet. Put it into a last call state, and then finally into a finalized state. So that's kind of the 50,000 foot view of what I'm thinking about for the NEP process state. And then I just get into like, what does a successful NEP look like? So the difference sort of that I've added to this process from the way we were previously doing it is I'd like to have these RFC 822 style headers. It really, you know, it's a standard way to do things. And it also allows authors to have their name on an NEP, which is, I think, is a very, very important thing. And then we just go through the list of different sections. And I think most of you guys have seen this. There's a template for all of this stuff. I guess the most important, or one of the most important additions as well, is this reference implementations section. And that's what I was sort of speaking to Bowen before. I also believe that, you know, show me the code. Let's see how this thing works. You know, contracts are code, right? So you often aren't able to figure things out without actually giving it a shot first, right? So definitely a believer in that. And I've also added the security implications section. we still kind of need to flesh that out, but I think it's an important thing to at least shoehorn in there and say, hey, we have to also consider that as part of an NEP. I'm not sure if that'll necessarily be something useful on the protocol side, but it's definitely useful on the.
Oh, it's very useful on the protocol side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And then I just get into a bunch of how-tos. And I'll just show you one more thing. Importantly, I guess we've got this NEP template that just kind of kickstarts things, right? Gives you a template of how to create a new NEP. I'd like to flush this out further, and I'd like to really work with you, Bowen, and maybe create one for a good example for what a protocol would look like, protocol level 1 would look like, and a good example of what contracts level standard template might look like. So that's sort of what I've been working on. We've also got this Zulip chat. This is kind of where I make the announcements of the existing standards going through the standards process. We can have discussions and stuff sort of more live in this Zulip chat. This is my first time using Zulip, so but yeah, that's basically the process in a nutshell. Very high level still, definitely still alive. I'll just show you quickly the pull request right now that's got some conversation around it. PR 350. You'll notice that the existing NEP1 is kind of missing a defined set of roles. I sort of kind of was wishy-washy about it. So we're getting into a really good discussion over roles, ownership, and accountability specifically. So we're again still trying to figure this process out, and I welcome conversation on this pull request from the community and from anybody that wants to participate.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jay.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Mike Lunanova, that asks, looks like a good process structure. What's the decision-making criteria?
That's a good question. I can speak from the standard side. One of the first steps, I think, in the process is to kind of get it out there in the community. So we're recommending kind of reaching out on our governance forum, and I've added a link here. Right into the standards section and start a conversation there. This will allow the community, the development community, and the wider community to be able to say, hey, this is a good idea. We haven't seen this before. Let's push it along. And so I think that's one of the most important things for kind of getting things kind of on deck, I guess, right? Did that answer your question?
I think, yes. So just from my understanding, I think the question maybe is more about how do we accept or how do we decide whether to accept or reject a proposal? So I think, that's I think that's a great question. From my perspective, for the protocol, I think what we're going to do is that we're going to form a committee, and initially it's probably going to be some people from Pagoda, and we're probably going to look into decentralizing that over time. But what will happen is that so towards the end of the process, there will be a committee vote, and then we can decide. So we can probably just use AstroDAO for that, or or other tools that we build. And then we can decide whether we want unanimous consent, or we want just like a super majority. So I think it's a great question. We haven't fleshed out the details yet, but those are some ideas that I have currently.
Just to solidify kind of what you were saying to Jay, so everyone is clear, like the process that we'd like, go to governance, gov.near.org, talk about things, incubate your idea. When you're ready to make a proposal, then go to the NEP repo, follow the kind of format for actually making a proposal, and then you also link to the Zulip chat, which a lot of our core engineers are on. When do I go there to chat? Is that to kind of like say, hey, I'm checking on the status of my repo, or is that another place that is for incubation of ideas? Just so people can kind of understand the difference between when do I go to Zulip versus when do I go to governance.
I'm leaving it open for kind of either or, right? Governance it's a good place to sort of do it asynchronously. But Zulip, there's a lot of big brains in Near sitting around that can answer some more technical questions, I think, more immediately. So I would kind of say both, but depending on your needs.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree with what Jay said. So to elaborate on that, basically governance forum is for like a longer post and where there will be more asynchronous communication around it. It may may take people a day or several days to post a longer response. But on Zulip it's kind of more synchronous. It's almost like semi-synchronous. You can have like real-time interaction with people asking questions or brainstorming some ideas.
Cool. Yeah, I see some other questions that are in the chat that aren't necessarily pertaining to this. We will answer those shortly, but I just want to leave space for anybody that has any further clarifying questions on the NEP process, standard process before we get into general AMA. So yeah, feel free to drop your question in the Q&A portion in the bottom. There's a little icon where you can click on, or yeah, if you'd like to just drop in the chat. I see some questions in the chat as well that yeah, we'll be answering right after this conversation. Yeah, I guess we can open up for AMA unless no one has any other clarifying questions. Is there anything else you wanted to cover, Jay or Bowen, before we move on?
I just want to say, like, this is still in a kind of preliminary state. I think I hope to work together with Jay in the upcoming weeks to have something more polished, written down and posted for everyone to read. So hopefully I can give an update in the next month's protocol meeting on the progress on this front.
Awesome.
That's just what I was going to say. This is still very organic and early, so.
Cool. Sounds good. All right, let me go to some of the questions in the Q&A. I see Simon asks, smart contract developers still get 30% of transaction fees. Yes, they do. I don't believe anything is changing as far as I'm aware, unless Bowen, you have some sort of insight on that, but I don't think there's anything changing with that.
No, nothing changed.
Okay, cool. How is randomness handled at the moment in the beacon chain?
Basically, there's a VRF. Every block there's a random seed that's essentially computed from running a VRF on the previous block's random seed.
Cool. When should we expect a new sharding roadmap?
When should we expect new sharding roadmap? That is a great question. So I think I can provide a high level update. So as the demand on Near grow, especially in the recent months, we've been focusing on making sure that the applications that are already live or are about to become live on Near can have a smooth experience for their users. Meaning that the network should be very stable and then accommodate the need for all those applications. As a result, we have been focusing more on stability improvements as well as single shard performance optimization. And in terms of going to the next steps of sharding, right now I believe the phase 1 of sharding, we hope to have it implemented and released in Q3 or Q4 this year. And going beyond that, I think part of the reason why why I don't want to commit to a super long-term roadmap is because things are changing rapidly, and if we're talking about something that's happening, something that's going to happen a year from now, it is very hard to give a even like an estimate on like when exactly that would be become live. So yeah, that's basically the update I have right now.
Awesome, thank you. Mario asks, the change state representation refers to changing from RocksDB to an ad hoc solution. Is that correct?
No, that's separate actually. So that is change of the underlying database doesn't change the protocol per se. The state representation change is more talking about potential change from Merkle procedure try to AVL tree based state representation.
Cool. Jafar asks, is there a conference scheduled for NEAR? Yeah, I can take that one. There will be a NearCon this fall. Location is still to be determined. I think we're targeting maybe October, something like that. I'm not sure. Actually, the dates aren't finalized yet as well. But yeah, keep an eye out for our town hall, as well as yeah, our social channels, and we will be certain to announce that once we have that finalized. Individual asked about a public repo example near marketplace. Yeah, again, ask in the dev support channel. Devrel can definitely help you out with that. Yeah, we have a lot of examples on that, and yeah, if you can't get immediate, or yeah, can't find it in our dev support channel, we're usually really responsive there. Please hang out in the office hours and ask some more support questions. Are we seeing the beginning of a move to a more process-focused approach within NEAR Foundation? Mike Luna Nova asks. I'm not sure. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on that. I'm not exactly sure if you're talking about the protocol aspect.
Yeah. Also, like none of us here represents NEAR Foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Let's see. Dennis asks, what is the future of WASM support for the protocol? Do you plan to support more languages to run on NEAR WASM? I've heard that now everything mostly is focused on Rust, so I'm worrying if AssemblyScript SDK support will lag or even be abandoned in the future. I can answer a little bit to that. Yeah, SDK or AssemblyScript SDK hasn't been updated a lot. We've been primarily focused on Rust, and also we've been short on engineers yeah, just in the tooling team. We do have an individual that's been working with NEAR SDK JavaScript, which I'm really excited about. And you'll be able to import all those primitives from your JavaScript and just code incomplete JavaScript. So yeah, sometimes AssemblyScript, it looks like TypeScript and you expect it to behave like TypeScript, and then actually it's not behaving as you would like it to, and it's not as mature of a language as Rust is. So that's why we've been kind of shepherding individuals to use Rust. But that repo is currently being worked on. I think you can go to GitHub/NEAR/NEAR SDK-JS to see the progress on it. But yeah, AssemblyScript will still be there. But we won't be officially like NEAR or Pagoda, as I should say, isn't going to be continuing to actively support that. But the community definitely will be. I don't know if you have any other comments on that as well, Bowen.
Yeah, so I saw that's kind of two questions, right? What is the future of WASM support for the protocol and like support more languages? So we are very much still committed to supporting WebAssembly, and that's we believe that, yeah, I don't think anything changed on that front. If anything, we're probably going to index more into like supporting not just WebAssembly, but also kind of spending more effort on the larger WebAssembly ecosystem, maybe contributing, or I think in some ways we are already contributing to the WebAssembly spec. And in terms of the languages that we support, yeah, I think Josh already gave a great answer. Right now, we're looking at supporting JavaScript because we believe that is more friendly to developers than AssemblyScript, because AssemblyScript has its own kind of quirks, and it's not. I mean, yeah, it behaves kind of like TypeScript, but not really, and then people kind of get confused sometimes. So we believe that JavaScript probably JavaScript support is probably going to be better for people to onboard, and there's going to be less of a barrier that people have to go through.
Cool. Avi asks, is there a doc that lists links to research papers used in NEAR? I do have a doc link that I can drop. It's all of our papers, the NEAR white paper, sharded blockchain, nightshade design, all that stuff. I will go ahead and drop that in chat. I think that's your question. And if it's not, please feel free to elaborate on that. Cool. Looks like that's all the questions in the Q&A section, but I see some in chat. Let's see if I can scroll up. Can you guys discuss the role of Pagoda in protocol and availability futures or upcoming? I'm also curious where the people developing the NEAR protocol. There used to be NEAR Inc. and now it's a distributed group of people from a variety of projects, question mark. Yeah, NEAR Inc. and NEAR Foundation are two separate entities. NEAR Foundation is basically the individuals that manage all of the tokens, and they provide grants to people that help support the protocol and develop on the protocol. NEAR Inc. was the engineering team behind the protocol, as also the tooling, SDKs, NEAR API.js, all that stuff. And NEAR Inc. has now been rebranded as Pagoda to help distinguish the two entities. And Pagoda is now the company that will be contributing directly to the source code, but it's not owned by Pagoda. It is still welcome. Pull requests are welcome. It's still all open source. And yeah, definitely community driven as far as how we're trying to shape our tooling, the protocol, hence this meeting and future meetings that we will have to kind of engage the community and find more of a balance of how we're shaping the future of the process of the platform itself. Bowen, do you have anything to
Yeah,
add to that?
yeah, I just want to add a couple of things. One is that Pagoda is a product-focused company, even though we are still contributing heavily to the protocol. To the product we're building, I guess we'll just leave it as a teaser there. I think hopefully more announcement would come soon. And another thing is that other entities, companies in the NEAR ecosystem are kind of building their own protocol teams as well. For example, Aurora is also building internally a protocol team that would kind of build expertise internally and also contribute to the protocol. So yeah, as mentioned before, Pagoda isn't the only entity who contributes to the protocol.
Awesome. I see that Daniel also asked something about wanting to reach out and help support the NEAR ecosystem and trying to implement some Web3 architecture. And he's not a dev, but he's wanting to help out. There's a whole ecosystem success team on the NEAR Foundation that you might be wanting to get in touch with. Ping me on Discord and I can help connect you with that team and also help answer some of your questions that are kind of not related to the scope of this conversation, but more than happy to answer some of the other questions that you do have. Looks like this is kind of going back to the original conversation on NEPs. Does the proposal need an upgradability section in the sense of describing how easy or complicated it would be to upgrade the contract in case of the change of the new NEP?
That's a good question. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I mean, possibly. One of the unique features of NEAR is kind of the ability to do upgrades a little more transparently than the other guys. Yeah, that's definitely something we could consider. It's probably not something that, well, it's probably not a protocol question. But I guess you kind of have to also balance that with, so the whole point of having a standard is to have like an interface that the rest of the community can use. So you kind of have to balance upgradability with those ripple effects that could potentially happen. So, but yeah, I could see, I would say yes, but let's be careful.
Yeah, I think so. On the protocol side, that's also a great question, and I think yes, we should actually add that because certain features, the implementation may be like not super difficult. The difficult part could also lie in the past to upgrade the protocol. For example, well, that might not be a good example. If we think of the implementation of phase 0 of sharding, the implementation itself is not trivial. But I think what is even more difficult is to kind of upgrade the existing protocol. Essentially, what happened is that we're upgrading the network live from 1 shard into 4 shards, and that process is quite complicated. Making sure that everything still works afterwards. So a lot of effort was put into just implementing the upgradability part of that protocol change.
Awesome. Kent's asking, why have we capped validators to 100?
Yeah, that's a great question. So mostly, I mean, I don't think 100 is necessarily the limit. It's kind of artificially imposed at this point. And the reason is that there are certain kind of scaling limitations there. One is related to signature verification, another related to the erasure code computation. So in the future, we're going to look at addressing those bottlenecks, maybe with other signature schemes or other ways to compute things needed for consensus. But at the same time, when we get to phase 1 of sharding, we're going to add chunk-only producers, and hopefully that will increase the number of validators to a few hundred.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks like most of them. Oh, Mike has one follow-up to the collaboration. He just wants to know, how do we see collaboration between teams working?
Yeah, I think it depends on the specific collaboration. I think most conversations are happening on Zurich in public, and also probably on the governance forum and kind of GitHub issues here and there. And then we also sometimes have meetings with other teams that are working on the protocol together.
Cool. Mario S, is there in view some form of bulk storage in the blockchain? Having to use external data storage is a blocker for some use cases, such as health records keeping.
Okay, so I'm trying to find where the question is, so I can. Yeah, so I think Machina is doing that. Though, like, yeah, I don't have like a up-to-date answer on their progress. I believe they were heavily impacted by the unfortunate events in Ukraine. So yeah, I cannot provide a very good answer to that question. But yeah, so basically there are things that our project is working on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see Jing asked some questions about wallet. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit out of scope for this meeting, but yeah, feel free to ask some questions in our dev support. And also there's a wallet channel as well in Discord that the wallet team monitors. So yeah, feel free to ask more questions about that. Or yeah, join the office hours and you can ask any question that you want every day, 11 to noon Pacific, and then we have earlier time zones as well. So yeah, near.org, yeah, I'll type it in the chat as well, just for another near.org/office hours that we have every day to answer any question that you want, regardless of topic. But yeah, it looks like I think we got 1 minute to spare, and I think we got all the questions. If anybody has last minute, 1 minute question to ask, yeah, again, thank you so much for dealing with our technical troubles. We'll hopefully have them all ironed out before next month. But yeah, okay, so Kent's asking a follow-up question. So as far as transactions per second in theory is about 4,000 times 6 shards. Is this correct?
Well, I don't know where the number 6 comes from. There are currently 4 shards live on mainnet. So I mean, in theory, yes, it should scale roughly linearly with number of shards until obviously until some limit.
Cool. Yeah, I think one of these protocol meetings. We'll definitely love to have a sharding topic as we further flesh out that idea and have Ming join us. I'd love to have that. That'd be great. Awesome. Well, thanks so much everyone for joining. I appreciate it. See y'all next month, same time, Thursday. Super stoked to see everyone joining and interacting with us. Next week, we're going to have a weekly meeting, a new meeting that'll be just on tooling. So if you're interested in SDKs or you're interested about near API JS or any of the development tools and want to talk to the tooling team, we'll have a community meeting next week, Thursday, same time. I'll be posting a link to that in our Discord and dev chats on Telegram and all the things. So keep your eye out for that. But yeah, thanks so much for joining Jay and Bowen, and have yourself a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.